Hello and welcome to another great episode of the Great Debaters Contest. I am your host, Austin Nyambok.
And I am Mariam Bishar.
The motion reads, use of condoms and contraceptives is condoning sexual immorality. To here with me I have a lady from Limuru Girls by name Angela Minayo with an opinion to share.
I think that the issue is rather a double-edged sword because on one side we have that contraceptives actually help us to family plan, but on the other side people are able to go scot-free after committing sexual immoralities. Thank you.
Well, that's her view. Over to you, Mariam.
And the schools debating this motion will be one, the giants of Nyeri County. I'm talking about Nyeri High. Their very worthy opponents are Juja Senior School. This is truly a battle of the minds, so we leave it to the experts on the stage.
The motion this week is use of condoms and contraceptives condone sexual immorality. Proposing the motion, Nyeri High School. Opposing the motion, Juja Senior School.
Each contestant has 3 minutes to make their submissions. The audience also gets a chance to put their questions to each team. Each side will have an additional 1 minute to make a final statement. The judge's decision is final. But in a twist, the audience also gets to have their say through the popular vote. This will see an extra 5% added to the school that wins this vote. The winning school will get an ICT chill-out zone with the widescreen TV, computers, webcams, and internet connection. The teacher from the winning school gets 100,000 shillings courtesy of Chase Bank. The winning students each get a tablet courtesy of Safaricom, a gift hamper from Unilever, and a gift hamper from mimi.co.ke. And together, they all win the title, The Great Debaters. May the best school win.
Proposer number 1, you may begin.
Panel of judges, members of the House present, I greet you all. My name is Dennis Kamau from the Nyeri High School, here to affirm the motion that condoms and contraceptives condone sexual immorality. Well, condoms and contraceptives, I believe I need not explain what they are, considering statistics show us that 9 out of 10 people actually know their identity. Condoning is the vocabulary of the day, and it simply means permitting without fear of the repercussions. Sexual immorality are simply sexual acts that individuals engage in, but at the end of the day, the community does not allow them. Ladies and gentlemen, if you may journey with me back to time in history, in the African traditional society, well, ladies and gentlemen, the reality is this. The youth at that time did not engage in sexual immorality, and if they did, the cases were, let's say, minor. Reason being, there were repercussions. Fear. If a girl were to get pregnant, yet a teen, she was banished from a community. With the introduction of condoms and contraceptives, ladies and gentlemen, the cases of youth engaging in premarital sex have skyrocketed. I refer you to a research done by the Kiza Family Foundation. It stated that a third of all youth have actually engaged in sexual activity, 98% of whom used condoms. Are they not condoning sexual immorality? Ladies and gentlemen, the marriage institution. I bet you're all aware of the advertisement that usually airs in our local media houses. Achana na mpango wa kando, la sivyo, weka condom kwa mpango. Avoid adultery. If you can't, use a condom along with it. Ladies and gentlemen, it's crystal clear that, well, adultery is sexual immorality, but if you can use it with a condom, and yet you can say that condoms and contraceptives are not condoning sexual immorality. I bet they are. Kids at the same time, they're exposed to sex at a very tender age. I remember at the age of 7, walking down the streets of Nairobi with my mom. I came across a billboard advertising Trust Condom. Well, actually, it was written, Je una yako. I looked at my mom and asked her, do you have yours? Ladies and gentlemen, condoms and contraceptives are condoning sexual immorality. You cannot cover up something that is quite evident. It is crystal clear that they are. Ladies and gentlemen, join us in proposing that these condoms and contraceptives are going to condone sexual immorality. Thank you.
The first proposer, you have 3 minutes.
Another day, another debate. Ladies and gentlemen, the only immorality is not to do what one has to do when one has to do it. Again, representing Juja Senior School, I am Millicent Adhiambo, a Toti. We all know the meanings that we've all been given the definitions of the various terms. And so, I will start by citing my first point. Lack of sex education, ladies and gentlemen. Lack of fundamental information. I will give an example. There is a barrier in this modern age between children and parents. Parents no longer talk openly to their children about sexual matters. They no longer take this as an important topic. And once they go out there, peer pressure will lead them into performing sexual acts. Ladies and gentlemen, we have permissive parents. Parents who are ready to buy the love of their children. We've had cases of parents giving their children condoms. Come on, people. We also have absentee parents, parents who are never there. If you never hold and nurture these children, give them emotional support, then be sure that they will look for this love somewhere else. And how will they do this? Indulge in sexual activities. My second point, poverty. Idle people bring about social vices. Examples, prostitution and crimes. Why do they do this? Because they lack the money. And why? They need this money. You can't say that condoms and contraceptives have led to sexual immorality. Why? Poverty clearly defines that they don't have money. They lack the adequate funds to buy these condoms and these contraceptives. That is why they indulge in sexual immorality. Look at the poverty and unemployment rates in our rising slums. They don't have enough money to care for these families. That is why they indulge in these immoral acts like prostitution. Why? To get the money to be able to cater for these children. Ladies and gentlemen, a quote said, the rich are getting richer, the poor are getting children. On to my third point. Sexual immorality has been there since time immemorial. Come on, why do you think our grandfathers were telling us, advising the people in the past to abstain from sex? Because it still existed. Contraception is not a modern invention. Why? Because birth control has been there for millennia. Scrolls have been found in ancient Egypt, still citing birth control. Ancient Egypt. Come on, people. Biblical times. Sodom and Gomorrah. Why were they destroyed? Sexual immorality. Do you want to tell me that condoms and contraceptives existed in those times? No. Family planning. These contraceptives are used for family planning. If family planning is immoral, then why are we all still here? Some of us are an example of family planning. Come on, people, let's all be realistic. I will end this by saying that if you say that contraceptives encourages sexual immorality, then how are contraceptives encouraging the cases of bestiality that have been reported in Africa, and mostly in Kenya? Thank you.
Second proposer, you have 3 minutes.
Panel of judges, the House at large. My name is Chris Borujirma from Nyeri High School, ready to propose the motion that states use of condoms and contraceptives condones sexual immorality. Well, I'd like to disagree with our first proposer because, we're in the 21st century. We are not in the ages of Pharaoh. We are not in the long 18th centuries, 15, 16, before Christ. We're in the 21st century. One thing we have to accept is that sexual immorality is with us. We are not denying that sex is everywhere. But all we are saying is use of condoms and contraceptives will assist us in preventing major issues, big problems in the society, and that is what we are supporting. Well, the present society is a mirage of the past society, whereby the past society, everything was done okay, and everything seemed to be normal. But in this society, things that are done, the fiber of the society is perforated by sexual immorality. You might think everything is okay, but unfortunately, it's not. Sexual immorality is there, but use of condoms and contraceptives help us to build this nation and move forward. If you cannot beat them, join them. The government itself provides these condoms in public places. Let me pose a question to you. Where do you go in public institutions you don't find condom dispensers? They're everywhere. They're in schools, they're in hospitals, they're everywhere. What does that tell you? That the government is working to prevent such immoral activities. Instead of the government advocating for sexual morality and enhancing abstinence, it's condoning sexual immorality. I urge you people to pay attention. Listen to what I have to say. The repercussions of sexual immorality. In the fact of the fear of stigmatization, in gaining HIV and AIDS, that is one thing that will lead to the destruction of your body. It will lead to the deterioration of your health. Early pregnancy for girls. This pregnancy will lead to dropouts in schools. Would you want that as a girl? Sexual transmitted diseases. They will lead to deteriorating health. They'll make you suffer. You see, in conclusion, what we're trying to say, we're not saying that sexual immorality is not there. It's there. But we're advocating for the use of condoms. Let me ask you a question. How effective are condoms? The research shows that 98% when you use a condom is effective and it's efficient. It will prevent you from getting pregnancy and various sexually transmitted diseases. That's why this day I propose that use of condoms and contraceptives condones sexual immorality. Thank you.
Second opposer, you have 3 minutes for cross-examination.
Ladies and gentlemen, I would like us to kindly stick to the motion. My name is Thomas Raingo, representing Juja Senior School, and I'm here to oppose this motion that states use of condoms and contraceptives is responsible for sexual immorality. First thing, he said that an issue about pregnancies, that people become pregnant. Why do you use contraceptives? In order to reduce the chances of becoming pregnant, ladies and gentlemen. They are supposed to propose, not to oppose. It's like they were supporting us. On to my first point. The reason as to why I am opposing this motion is because they help us to curb the spread of illnesses. A good example is HIV and AIDS. Ladies and gentlemen, in the Philippines, contraceptives and condoms were banned. 80% of the population were Catholics, and they condemned it. As a result, what happened? 25% was the increasing rate of spread of HIV and AIDS. I'd like us to bring this to our attention. If you have a problem, you always come up with a solution, right? At a particular point, do you blame that solution because of the problem? No, we can't blame condoms because of sexual immorality. We need to consider our facts, ladies and gentlemen. On to my second point. The reason as to why I think condoms and contraceptives are not the cause of sexual immorality is because of drugs, ladies and gentlemen. When one is under the influence of drugs, one's state of mind is impaired. They cannot be able to make sound decisions. This is best illustrated by the youth. When they go for the parties that they usually call raves, what happens there? There's use of drugs and alcohol. I have a good example of a friend of mine. She had just joined high school, very young, but I will not mention her name. What happened? She went to a party because she was invited with her friends. Very naive young girl over here. So what happened? Well, she was there, her drink was spiked. I believe you all know what that means. So what happened? She was introduced to drugs. She was not willing. It happened to her. As a result, what happened? She lost one of the important things that girls value in their lives. That's her virginity. Why? And here we cannot blame condoms. Immorality is in the mind, not in condoms, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you.
Yes, may we have 2 questions for the proposers?
I'm Idagiza Lauren from Olympic High School. The second proposer said that condoms are given in schools. Do you want to tell us that in your school you are being given condoms so that you can perform sexual immorality?
My question to the proposers. First thing is that in my school you don't have condoms. So my question is, you're talking about sexual immorality. We do know sexual immorality isn't about sex only. The other forms of immorality like masturbation. How has condoms and contraceptives led to masturbation?
All right, may we have 2 questions for the opposing side?
My name is Esperancia Nasimiu Kapanga from the Kenya High School, and I have a question for the opposers. The first lady who spoke said that there is lack of sex education in our current in the current social setup. I'd like you to give us statistics because, as we all know, sex education has been incorporated in the school curriculum through life skills learning, through biology, and also through the study of CRE. So where exactly did you get your information? Because as far as we know, most parents are encouraging their children to also get sex education.
Okay, I'm Ian Duncan from Aquinas High School. I have a question to the opposers. Okay, the first opposer spoke about poor people not having money to afford condoms and contraceptives. Please explain to us which level of poverty cannot afford condoms and contraceptives. Okay, condoms and contraceptives. Because the last time I checked, one can be able to get a condom for as low as 0 shillings.
The third proposer, you may take the floor. You have 3 minutes.
The panel of adjudicators and the floor at large. I'm here to propose a motion that the use of condoms and contraceptives condone sexual immorality. Well, ladies and gentlemen, I will start straight to the questions. The second proposer said that condoms are offered in schools. I want to tell you that in universities and colleges, condoms are offered. Universities and colleges are still schools. Therefore he's right, and there's nothing wrong with his statement. On the second question, you've asked about some forms of sexual immorality that do not really appertain to condoms and contraceptives. For example, masturbation. It is true. We are just saying that contraceptives and condoms condone some forms of sexual immorality. Not all. We are not speaking about all forms of sexual immorality, because in everything there is a positive angle and there's a sample error in all arguments that we have. On the same note, ladies and gentlemen, I would like the opposers to come straight on telling us indeed what condones sexual immorality in our society. Because the motion is not about what causes sexual immorality. It is about what condones sexual immorality. The cause of anything and what condones it is different. Therefore, ladies and gentlemen, I would like the opposers to come clear on the argument. Basically, ladies and gentlemen, we do not deny the fact that condoms and contraceptives enhance or reduce the risk of transmission of sexually transmitted infections and diseases. We agree. But at the same time, we are just saying that it condones sexual immorality. That's all we are saying, not anything else. On the same angle, ladies and gentlemen, today I'm a worried man. Because when I look at the future, I'm worried. I fear for our children. I fear for our daughters and sons. Ladies and gentlemen, I fear because I see our sons and daughters engaging in sexual acts in the ages of 10, 11, and 12. I'm afraid. On the same angle, ladies and gentlemen, our daughters using contraceptives 12 years without knowing the consequences of these contraceptives. Could the opposers tell us the links that are there between cancer and contraceptives, yet they support condoms and contraceptives? Because to me it is immoral, it is evil, and may God curse contraceptives and condoms till eternity. I rest my case.
The third opposer, you have 3 minutes to respond.
Ladies and gentlemen, I am sorry to say, my friend, you are lost. Why am I saying this? He says we are supporting condoms and contraceptives. No! What are we saying? We are saying that sexual immorality is not perpetrated or made to look as if it's not important. That's the meaning of the word condone, to make as if it is not important. What do I mean by this? Sexual immorality is in the mind. Thank you for that question. Sexual immorality is masturbation. What does a condom have anything to do with masturbation? Nothing. It's in your head. Once it's in your head and tattooed in your heart, whether or not there's a condom or a contraceptive, there is a form of sexual immorality there. Straight to your questions. Somebody asked about how young people in slums are not accessible to condoms. I'll give you a story. The Nairobian the other day came up with a story that said live sex shows in Kibera. How many of you saw that? Live sex shows in Kibera. The poor, and even if you want a prostitute, do you go to the church or do you go to the bar? Why? Because many people in these slums you know, even in business we learn, where there is unemployment, people engage in social vices. This shows that whether or not there is condoms or contraceptives, people are still engaging in sexual immorality to earn a living. That is what I'm saying. Second of all, I would like to tell you a story. You know, sexual immorality has been with us from the past, as my friends have stated. It's been with us from Sodom and Gomorrah. It is with us now, and if you are not careful, it will be with us in the future. That is what I'm saying. Second of all, sexual immorality, sex education. Somebody asked that. We are not saying there are no sex education in schools. We are saying many parents nowadays are refraining from teaching their kids about sexual immorality. Parents are afraid of sitting their kids down and telling them about sexual immorality. That is what we are saying. There is no personal connection. You know, my mom told me that if you don't get love from your mother at home, you will go and look for a woman out there to give you love. That is what we are saying. Sexual immorality is imprinted in our hearts. It has nothing to do with the condoms. It has nothing to do with the contraceptives. Whether or not you want to have sex, whether I put a condom here, I put it here, and I tell you, go have sex with anyone. It's in your head. If you have the moral virtues, you will not do it. But if you're already sexually immoral in your head, you will do it with no second thought. That is what I'm saying. This motion has been completely disguised to mean very many other things. Second of all, there is a point here that says marriage. A marriage is something that is allowed by God. When family planning is not sexual immorality, family planning is allowed, because once you're married, then sex is allowed. So when you use contraception or condoms, then there is no problem, because this is something that has been blessed by God. But once you're out of marriage and you're using this is now sexual immorality. Thank you.
The proposing team, you may give your final submission.
Ladies and gentlemen, sex is a cycle. It begins from a point and it grows. Ladies and gentlemen, sex begins as a form of a mind. We do not refuse that. But what causes your thought to become an action is condoned by condoms and contraceptives. Sex is a cycle. Just as I said, ladies and gentlemen, masturbation is sexual immorality. But if you can look at all those people who go to prostitutes, ladies and gentlemen, they began from such a point. Therefore, there is a direct connection between condoms, contraceptives, and sexual immorality. As I end, ladies and gentlemen, I would like to end in a story. I was somewhere in a chicken restaurant in Nyeri, and a man came in and he said, "Hey waiter, nipe huyo mrembo quarter," meaning give me that beautiful quarter. He wanted a chicken, so he was saying chicken quarter. So to him, chicken is beautiful. That is the situation in the ground. And the waiter told him, hey, will you eat from here or in the lodging? Ladies and gentlemen, this shows that the situation on ground is serious. And condoms and contraceptives should be banned from our society. Thank
A member of the opposing team to wrap up the argument.
I thank my opponent for agreeing with me that sex starts in the mind. Sexual immorality is not to do with condoms or contraceptives, it is with us. Before you is a motion of facts and fiction again, ladies and gentlemen. You know what sexual immorality is? This is the essence of blaming everyone around you with a tendency of leaving yourself out of the equation. That is sexual immorality. Ladies and gentlemen, let us stop burying our heads in the sun like a proverbial ostrich. Wake up and see the light. Wake up from your deep slumber and stupor and see what is going on. It has nothing to do with condoms. It is in your head. Nothing to do with condoms. You know, somebody once said is that the way people describe immorality is the way everyone else is sinning except themselves. They explain immorality as what others are doing, not what they themselves are doing. That is sexual immorality. Ladies and gentlemen, I finish with something. Make abstinence your contraception, ladies and gentlemen. Make abstinence your contraception. It is the only 100% way of dealing with this issue. Thank you.
So, for those who believe that our brothers from Nyeri High had a fairer and much more convincing argument, please raise your hand. For those who believe that our brothers and sister from Juja Senior School had a fairer argument, please raise your hand. The crowd has spoken, and Nyeri High, you get the audience vote.
I'll start with Juja, Preparatory and Senior School. Thomas, I'll find fault with your language. And right now we are penalizing anything that can be penalized. For example, when you keep on talking about can be able, we penalize you for that. Rebuttal was not effective at all. There are some pertinent issues raised by the other team, which called for your rebuttal, but you did not do that. Personal testimony is good, but the trouble with personal testimony, it might not be very convincing. I wish you could go for some scientific research. It could have worked wonders. Samuel, you've been charming in your previous debates, but I think you're taking advantage of your speaking skills and you ignore content, which is very dangerous. Be composed. I find you convincing when you're composed, and your manner of speaking is also very good when you're composed. But I think you are so much charged up because the motion is emotive to an extent that you forgot that you have content to deliver, and also you are not orderly. Most of the time, I had phrase like second of all. First, grammatically wrong. Two, it shows that there is no flow in your mind. Nyeri High, Kamau, commendable job. I really love the way you started. You are calm and persuasive. That was excellent. Local examples, well used. Nonetheless, check your language at one point or another, and there was good use of humor. Boru, rebuttal was required. You ignored rebuttal. For example, your opponents talked about poverty. They also raised the issue of education, or rather civic education, but it was not refuted. Nelson, you need to work more on your delivery and also on your content. For example, the response to the issue of masturbation, it was not conclusive. It left rather a lot to be desired. Also, relationship between contraceptives and sexual immorality was lacking. And you could have used your time to explain the relationship between the two when you had your 3 minutes. You had your 3 minutes, you did not make full use of it, and you sat down. You also raised the issue of cancer, that sometimes the use of contraceptives can lead to cancer. You left your opponents to discuss or to decide on that. But you had the time. You could explain and convince.
I'll start with Nyeri High School. Kamau, good points, good research, and good use of analogies. However, you didn't utilize your time fully. And that as well, we are looking at that. Chris, good speaker, good stage presence, but however, do not generalize, not all public institutions, because we know of nurseries that are primary schools that don't have all these things. So it's good for you to note that there are particular ones, probably because of age. Juja, Millicent, wow, you did a commendable job as a first speaker. However, don't ride on the definitions of your opponents. It's good for you to come and define the terms yourself. Samuel, good job. Thanks for ending by giving us a solution that make abstinence your contraceptive. And I think that's what we advocate for, even to the audience here. However, it's good for you to note that sometimes composure and flow of thought is important. And then if you add it with the strength that you have of getting the audience attention, you can make a great speaker. So all the best to the winning team.
To condone means to allow, to accept, to approve, to sanction. And so with that, I think as a panel of judges, we are unanimous that the two teams did not do justice to a topic that is sensitive, that is of interest to us, to parents, and to policymakers. We expected better performance from the two teams, and I must say that we were a little disappointed. Two specifics: Juja Senior School, Millicent, great job. But I kind of felt like the team let you down. You were strong, you started well, you've always had a very good style of presentation, your mastery of language is superb. You had content, but the rest of the team did not pull through with you very well. And so at this point, it's about teamwork. It's not about an individual. It's about teamwork. And so the entire team must pull together for you to be able to move to the next level. Thomas, again, you're making too many assumptions. I may belong to a different generation. At least I know what spiked is. But if my parent is watching this debate, they might not know what the term spiked is. So you need to explain what those terms mean. Nyeri High, Dennis, again, a marked improvement. You didn't disappoint. Your mastery of language is good, and you started off very well. However, you still had 20 seconds to convince us. So poor use of time, your team was penalized. Chris Boru, I don't know what happened today. I don't know whether you were tense. I don't know whether you did not have enough time to prepare, but that is not the Chris that we have known. And so that cost you a lot. Nelson, again, you didn't disappoint. I love your maturity on the stage. You appeared aggrieved, but again, at least you were able to control your anger and manage it well. You tried, to pull through and to boost the team, but you still had 40 seconds, to speak. And so when the first time that you were making your submissions, you did not utilize your time well. And so the team, again, was heavily penalized because of poor use of time. If you proceed forward, you need to think about the time that you have and utilize your time appropriately to convince us and the audience. All the best to the two teams.
I'd like everyone to join me in giving a round of applause to Juja Senior because they gathered 74% in this debate. Nyeri High School, on the other hand, had 82%. The audience seemed to agree with the judges. You gave them an extra 5, giving them a total of 87%.
We all believe that they did their best. And for Nyeri High, as you proceed, beware, there are teams that are baying for your blood. And for those are very, very good competitors, Juja Senior School, we appreciate you and we hope to see you next time. So we have Nyeri High proceeding to the semi-finals, and from there, we want to appreciate our audience, all those who are watching at home, our audience right here, and thank you very much from the Great Debaters Contest. I am your host, Austin Yambok.
And I am Mariam Bishar. We'll see you in the finals.
The winning school will get an ICT chill-out zone with the widescreen TV, computers, webcams, and internet connection. The teacher from the winning school gets 100,000 shillings courtesy of Chase Bank. The winning students each get a tablet courtesy of Safaricom, a gift hamper from Unilever, and a gift hamper from mimi.co.ke. And together, they all win the title, The Great Debaters. May the best school win.